I didn't want kids. I didn't want to get married. I thought I was going to be career girl and that's it. And I had my eyes set on my goals.
Something's definitely off with Ayesha Curry lately, and the internet feels it loud and clear. Once known as the sweet face of family values and perfect wife energy, Ayesha built her whole image around being the calm, grounded half of NBA superstar Stephen Curry. The matching smiles, the Christian cookbook vibes, the polished couple goals, it all painted a flawless picture. But now, that picture's starting to crack. Fans are noticing a major shift in how she talks, acts, and even moves online. Those interviews where she hinted about losing herself and not chasing her own dreams hit different now. And those clips where she talked about wanting more attention, yeah, people didn't miss that. Viewers are starting to wonder if this is a deeper cry for help or a woman finally breaking free from an image she never really chose in the first place. It's wild watching someone who had everything, the fame, the family, the fairy tale life, suddenly sound like she's searching for something more. What happens when being Mrs. Curry isn't enough anymore? When she starts questioning her own identity after years of living in his shadow? That's the storm brewing behind all these quiet smiles and subtle interviews. So today, we're diving into this new chapter of Ayesha Curry's story. The one that has fans whispering, timelines buzzing, and everyone trying to decode what's really going on. But before we get messy, make sure to grab your favorite snacks from rrgsnacks.com. Western barbecue bacon jerky, freeze-dried treats, butter toffee peanuts, and those sour peach rings are back. To really understand how deep this story runs, we gotta rewind all the way back to 2002, back when Steph and Ayesha first crossed paths at a Charlotte, North Carolina church. Steph noticed her instantly, but Ayesha, she wasn't giving him the time of day. She was that confident, cool girl from Toronto who wasn't easily impressed. And Steph? Just another church boy trying to shoot his shot, literally and figuratively. Even back then, Ayesha had that glow. The Toronto native would fly back home with her family and always bring Steph little treats from Canada, the kind he couldn't get anywhere else. He'd first fallen in love with those snacks when his dad, Del Curry, played in Toronto during his NBA run. It became their little connection, those sweet Canadian goodies that hinted at something more brewing between them. After high school, Ayesha packed her bags and chased her dreams in Los Angeles, diving headfirst into modeling and acting. She had her eyes on the spotlight, while Steph stayed behind in North Carolina, grinding on the court at Davidson College. In 2008, when Steph blew up during the NCAA tournament, leading his team to the Elite Eight, his name suddenly became that name to know. That summer, he flew to LA for a basketball camp and remembered Ayesha was out there. So he did what any love-struck college guy would do, hit her up on Facebook. But Ayesha wasn't easy to get. She turned him down flat, though she told him to hit her up next time he was in town. And guess what? Just a week later, Steph was right back in Los Angeles, this time for the ESPY Awards, where athletes are honored for their achievements. Ayesha didn't even know what the ESPYs were back then, but fate clearly did, because that trip would change everything. The ESP Awards were a massive deal in the sports world, and the fact that Steph even got an invite was huge. But Ayesha, she didn't think much of it. She later told People magazine that she had no idea what the ESPYs even were and honestly wasn't into basketball like that. She straight up admitted that she thought most athletes were full of themselves. So dating one? Yeah, not part of her plan. Still, Steph had that quiet charm, and after a bit of convincing, she agreed to hang out, just as friends. Their first outing went smooth, filled with laughs and a little spark underneath it all. But when Steph leaned in for that goodbye kiss, Ayesha hit him with the classic move. Not so fast. She was keeping her guard up, and that only made him want her more. When her acting and modeling dreams didn't take off the way she hoped, Ayesha eventually moved back to North Carolina.
Are all these women like throwing themselves? But me, like the past 10 years, like I don't have any of that. Like I have zero, this sounds weird, but like male attention. And so then,
You
like, I
don't
begin to
even realize
internalize it, and I'm like, is something wrong with
You're
me?
not
Like,
That's when things really started heating up between her and Steph. She began to see just how big of a deal he was, especially when whispers started flying that he could be one of the top picks in the upcoming NBA draft. That's when it clicked for her. This wasn't just a college sweetheart. This was a man about to take over the game. In one interview, Ayesha admitted that she told Steph, "I love you first." And Steph, being the composed one, hit her with the most patient heartbreak ever. He told her, "I feel like I love you too, but I don't want to say it unless I'm sure." Ayesha said she got in her car and cried the whole way home after that moment. Pure movie scene energy. But a few months later, he said it back, and from then on, it was up and up. By 2009, Steph got drafted by the Golden State Warriors. The next year, he proposed, and in 2011, 23-year-old Steph and 22-year-old Ayesha tied the knot. But life came at her fast. She got pregnant just months later, and her Hollywood dreams had to take a back seat. She later revealed on the Call Her Daddy podcast that it changed everything: her priorities, her confidence, and her entire sense of self. That confession alone pulled back the curtain on something people rarely talk about: the truth behind those picture-perfect wife goals and flawless family posts. Ayesha's life flipped overnight from chasing her own dreams to carrying the full weight of a new role she never really planned for. One minute, she was a 22-year-old chasing auditions under the California sun, and the next, she was a wife, pregnant, and suddenly living in the shadow of a man the entire world was starting to worship. It's a harsh reality most people overlook. According to clinical psychologist Dr. Meg Jay, author of The Defining Decade, your 20s are the years that shape who you truly are. Your independence, your goals, your sense of self. But when those years get fast-tracked into marriage, relocation, and motherhood, something happens inside. You don't vanish, but you stop being the main character in your own story. Instead of building your own identity, you end up managing everyone else's: your husband's schedule, your kids' needs, your family's image. The danger: you start mixing up loyalty with purpose. Every year that passes, that line between who you are and who you became for someone else blurs a little more. The world celebrates his highlights, his trophies, his headlines, while your quiet sacrifices fade into the background. Ayesha once admitted she hated when Steph became an NBA star, not out of jealousy, but because that's when everything changed. The spotlight turned so bright on him that it dimmed hers completely. Suddenly, the woman who used to dream about movie sets and scripts found herself stuck in a story she didn't write, wondering when she'd ever get to live life for herself again. Ayesha once said, "I didn't know he was going to end up playing basketball. He told me he just wanted to be a high school coach. I thought I was going to be the one out there getting it." That line said it all. She never expected her life to flip like that. She thought she would be the one chasing big dreams, not standing behind someone else's spotlight. Their first daughter, Riley, came into the world in 2012 and instantly became a viral sensation with her adorable personality. Then came Ryan in 2015, Cannon in 2018, and finally little Kaya's in 2024. A full family lineup that made them look like the picture-perfect dream team. But behind those smiling family photos, life wasn't as effortless as it seemed. Being married to one of the most beloved players in the entire NBA came with pressure Ayesha never asked for. During her sit-down on Red Table Talk, she openly admitted that all the attention Steph got from women really got under her skin. It wasn't just the flirting, it was the constant reminder that the world adored him while she felt overlooked. The internet dragged her for that confession. But later, she told Insider that the show was edited to make her look unstable, insisting her words were taken out of context. Still, what she revealed touched on something much deeper, something psychologists call identity diffusion. It happens when someone takes on adult roles too early, before fully figuring out who they are inside. The result? A split between the person you are and the one you perform for everyone else. The wildest part about Ayesha's confession wasn't her jealousy. It was the sadness in realizing how invisible she felt in her own life, even while standing right next to a superstar. What's really striking isn't just that Ayesha wants to be seen, it's who she wants to be seen by. On paper, she's living the dream that millions of women fantasize about: a loyal husband, beautiful kids, financial security, and a stable home. Yet somehow, all that still doesn't seem to fill the emptiness she's hinted at. Psychologists call it an external locus of validation, when your self-worth depends entirely on how others view you instead of how you see yourself. It's like chasing a spotlight that never stays still. No matter how much love or praise you get, it's never enough, because the hunger comes from within. Once that craving starts, it becomes endless, a bottomless pit that swallows confidence whole. The more you seek approval from others, the more disconnected you become from your own reflection. That's why it made so much sense when, back in 2015, Ayesha tweeted, "Everyone's into barely wearing clothes these days, huh? Not my style. I like to keep the good stuff covered up for the one who matters." At first glance, it sounded like a proud, self-assured statement from a woman secure in her values. But looking deeper, that tweet revealed something more layered. Behind the confident tone was a quiet tension, a woman trying to remind herself she was different, maybe even better than the ones she secretly compared herself to. While other women were freer, louder, and bolder with their femininity, Ayesha was still defining her own. That tweet felt less like judgment and more like protection, a defense mechanism to reassure herself that modesty made her more valuable. Psychologists have a name for that too: reaction formation, when someone expresses the opposite of what they truly feel to cover up inner conflict. So instead of admitting she felt unseen or unsure, she turned it into a statement of pride. It was her way of holding on to control in a world that constantly measured her by someone else's fame. Ayesha once told Hello Giggles that both her parents and Steph's advised them to always put each other before the kids. It sounded like wise family guidance, but looking back, maybe that Curry counseling session came with more baggage than blessings. Because in 2021, Steph's parents, Del and Sonia Curry, shocked everyone when they divorced after 33 years of marriage. The messy part? They each accused the other of cheating, and then both moved on with new partners who, get this, had been married to each other before. Talk about awkward family reunions. Fast forward to 2024, and people started noticing something different about Ayesha. She looked slimmer than ever. Reports claimed she dropped about 35 pounds, and her entire vibe shifted overnight. The same woman who once built her image on modesty and classy wife energy suddenly started serving bold, confident looks on Instagram. And the internet? They had thoughts. Fans couldn't help but bring up that old tweet from back in 2015, where she shaded women for barely wearing clothes. Now, seeing her flaunting crop tops and showing more skin, people started calling her out, saying, "So was that tweet just all talk?" It sparked a whole debate. Was Ayesha simply evolving, or was she finally revealing the confidence she used to hide behind modesty? To some, it looked like a glow-up. A woman reclaiming her body and self-image after years of holding back. To others, it felt like she was doing a complete 180, turning into the very type of woman she once judged. Either way, the message was loud and clear. Ayesha Curry was done playing safe. Maybe, after years of preaching perfection, she finally decided to live life on her own terms. Curves, confidence, and all. But this transformation didn't stop at clothes or confidence. It started showing up everywhere. Ayesha's social media presence shifted from family-first posts to self-focused content, and fans were quick to pick up on the change. Gone were the constant mom life updates and recipe videos. Now it was full glam, solo shots, and cryptic captions about rebirth and living unapologetically. People began to wonder if this was growth or a quiet cry for freedom. Some praised her, saying she finally stepped into her own spotlight after years of standing behind Steph. Others accused her of craving attention, the same thing she once claimed she didn't need. It's ironic because back in 2019, she told a talk show audience that she sometimes felt invisible next to her famous husband. That confession alone had people torn. Half felt for her, the other half said, "Girl, you married an NBA legend. What did you expect?" But the truth is more layered. Imagine spending a decade being known as someone's wife before anyone remembers your name. Every headline starts with Steph Curry's wife Ayesha, never just Ayesha. That kind of constant labeling can quietly eat away at a person's confidence. So when she started posting bolder photos and talking about self-love, maybe it wasn't about attention at all. Maybe it was finally about identity. Still, the internet did what it always does. Split into two camps. One side claimed she was in her soft girl comeback era, embracing womanhood and independence. The other side said she was going through a midlife influencer phase, chasing relevance as Steph's career kept soaring. Whatever it is, it's clear Ayesha is rewriting her narrative, and she's not asking for permission this time. And here's the twist. While the world debates her motives, Steph's staying quiet as ever, keeping his focus on the court. But fans can't help but notice that his wife's new energy is starting to steal the spotlight he once owned completely. Now Ayesha's out here with her shoulders out, ribs showing, and the camera angled like she's starring in America's Next Top midlife reinvention. And let's be real, she looks good. The glow up is glowing, the energy is fresh, and she's clearly enjoying her new era. But while everyone's hyping her up, the truth runs deeper than the filters and outfits. Because no matter how many pounds she sheds or how many bold new looks she rocks, real peace doesn't come from a photo shoot. It comes from doing the inner work. If she doesn't slow down and face what's really missing, she's gonna spend her life chasing reflections that lie to her every time the flash goes off. Validation might feel sweet, but it's the cheapest kind of love. And the hardest habit to kick. You can get 1 million likes, a front page spread, or even a partner praising you nonstop. But if you don't truly believe in your own worth, it'll all fade as fast as your feed refreshes. That kind of emptiness can't be covered in designer clothes or camera-ready smiles. True self-love doesn't need a spotlight. It's calm, it's quiet, it's that confidence that whispers, "I'm enough," even when nobody's looking. Until Ayesha learns to love herself from that space, where peace doesn't depend on applause, she'll keep craving validation that vanishes the moment she logs off. But one thing's for sure, this chapter in her story has the whole internet talking. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like, share, and subscribe, and check out what's on our radar next, because this saga is just heating up.